Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back to the Rolling GRIMES Not Just Sports Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Roland GRIMES, recording live here at Everlasting Life Restaurants in Capitol Heights, Maryland. Again, Roland GRIMES, your effervescent chocolate day. I bet y'all can't say that 4 times. Here on the scene, once again, with my good friend, Mr. Chuck Ottley. In addition, we have with us a very dynamic person who actually was appropriately introduced by Mr. Ottley a little while ago. So without further ado, I'll let her fill in the blanks. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Njeri Clark.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Roland.
All right, I'm gonna wait for the camera to get over there on you. And Keisha, is the lens big enough to get me and her in, or do you like have to cut me in half?
Yeah, your arm is cut off a little bit. But
okay,
it's
so as long as you have my face.
Yes.
Thank you. And my smile to go with my man, Ottley and Miss Clark. We're good?
Yes.
All right, here we go, folks. Miss Clark, I'm going to start this question very simply with, what is it about the real estate business that attracted you several years ago to get involved with it? Chuck talked about his journey from, I'm not gonna repeat it, talk about his journey. Were you of similar construct, like your husband was rich, you was broke, you was trying?
Well, I wasn't married,
okay.
But I didn't seek the profession. I got into it just seeking more income. I went to a friend of mine and I asked him about refinancing my home. He had a mortgage company, and I noticed that he had a lot of money. He owned a lot of properties all around the DC area. And I said, Bill, how can I make more money? I said, I'm making decent income in the federal government, but I just can't make ends meet. And so he said, I want you to read a few books. He told me about some books that had changed his life. And I read those books, and I went back to Bill, and he said, I'm going to introduce you to another gentleman who was into real estate, and so that's how it started. And so I got into the mortgage business. I became a licensed loan officer back in '06, and then I got my real estate license, and so I went from there. I was doing pretty well until the market crashed.
Now, when you say market crash, I need both of you to give me a definition of market crash, and I'm going to tell you why. In the business of stock trading, hint, hint, which is another one of the things that I've had a chance to learn. I know, brother, I'm like I'm not going to call it out. I'm a brother with many jobs. Whether it's y'all knew where I was going, right? Whether it's whether it's a bear market or a bull market, I'm supposed to be able to make money. So as the market is moving upward, and the houses are starting at 200,000, selling at 800,000, or whether the market is moving down and going from 800 to 200,000, if I position myself appropriately, I should be able to make money in either one of those markets. There's a culture of people out there who says you don't buy real estate until there's blood running in the streets. I don't know if you've heard that, and we're not going to identify that ethnic group that says that, but y'all see me off camera, I'll tell you about it. Having said that part, when you say the market crash, what exactly does that mean? I hear it, but we don't understand what that means.
Well, values plummeted and I'll give you my personal story, and it was pretty devastating for me. I was a loan officer at a company in Largo, Maryland. I was also selling real estate with Keller Williams. I had about 4 deals on the table in November of 2007, and banks started closing their doors one by one by one. And I remember...
Oh, you couldn't get the financing.
My buyers could no longer get the financing that I thought was in place. The banks were closing. And so one deal fell through, then the next deal fell through, then the next deal fell through. I had one deal left where I was the realtor, and I was making money on the loan side, which... that's between you and I.
Yeah, the people out there in Uzbekistan, they didn't hear that at all.
But anyway, I remember my representative from the bank, he called me and said, Njeri, we're having tough times here. I can do this loan if I add on $600 PMI to your buyer's loan. And I said, oh my God, I tried to sell it though. I tried to sell it to this young girl because this was it for me.
No, principal mortgage insurance for $600.
Principal mortgage, yes. This was it for me. So, private mortgage insurance.
Private.
Yes. And so, so my client didn't want to take the loan. So that was my fourth deal. I had bill collectors on my back, and I was supposed to make about $28,000 that month, in that 1 month. And I remember going into the bathroom at my mortgage company, and I cried. I mean, I was in there for like 30 minutes.
That was you, I heard.
I wrote
I was
down.
sweeping the floors when she was in there crying.
Yeah, that was me crying. And so that's what happened though. Banks started closing their doors. The buyers couldn't get loan products. The loan products that were left were crazy with very high PMI and other
Unsundry fees.
Exactly.
Tack-ons, add-ons.
Exactly. And so values plummeted. So when I say the market crashed, that's what I'm talking about. People couldn't get loans, and people who had homes, once people couldn't get loans, and the bank started closing doors, people started foreclosing. People who were into the controversial loan types, and I do want to touch on that when you talked about the you call it liar loans and the ninja loans. They were set up for a certain group of people. They were, I'm not going to say they were all bad. They were set up for people. Like I have a nail technician now who she wants a loan, but she cannot get a loan because she gets a lot of her money through cash. She only documents $500 a week. And so she can't get the loan that she wants, but she makes much more money. She probably could have been a candidate for another doctor.
Yeah, Internal Revenue Service is looking in your Facebook page right now for that.
Well,
take off your Facebook page.
But then you have the investors or the entrepreneurs or sole proprietors who may have just income that just can't be documented like a person who has a regular job. And so those no-doc loans and stated income loans were made for them. Interest-only loans are made for investors who were going to buy a property, hold it for 3 months and sell it. But what happened is, of course, everyone the banks got greedy and customers got greedy and people just started taking any loan that they could to get into a home. So,
and is your definition much different from that?
Yeah, not much, but it was a situation where a lot of people that normally would not be able to buy because of the credit, income, and assets, they were then able to buy because they were not as stringent on the criteria. Right. So they entered the market with a vengeance, and also fueled by the fact that if I don't buy now, I'll never be able to afford a house because the prices were going up. So when they're in, they're buying early.
But then all of us participating. I mean, as a mortgage person, I was telling them the same thing. You better get in there now because as a real estate agent, weren't you doing more business?
Yeah.
So I knew people who were making $1 million in that 1 year. Selling real estate, and then 3 years later they said, "Oh man, it was such a bad market. We were doing this." I'm like, "Wait a minute, but you're the ones that did it."
That's the crash I'm talking about. These people that may have been buying 3, 4, 5 years down the road were in the market now. So there they are, already with their house. So they're not there in those 3 or 4 or 5 years. Hence the crash. Lack of buyers, lack of value, can't get the loan products. I mean, I not personally, but I heard a situation where people were at the table and the underwriters were killing the loans that they'd already approved. It was crazy. So the market crashed with all of those situations.
I mean, we knew we were in trouble when IndyMac and Countrywide shut their doors.
Absolutely.
You're talking about billions and billions of dollars worth of financeability that just disappeared. Now, for those who don't really understand how some of that banking structure works, and my next guest is a lot even more astute about this than I am, but it's not like IndyMac and Countrywide actually owns this money. There's a reserve or pool of available financing dollars that these consortiums or these banks, they have a representation of themselves within this particular pool of monies. And IndyMac and Countrywide were major players in this. And what happens is when one of them decides that they're no longer going to do business, that representation of those dollars is now gone. Now, typically when something like that happens, it shifts to maybe another lender or shifts to another institution such as the credit union that I was telling you about I ran a long time ago, but this time it wasn't shifting. It was actually just vanishing. And what happens then is a lot of our investments as a country is in these quote-unquote mortgage-backed securities, et cetera. So now you have this ripple effect that starts to affect the automobile industry. You can always tell when we're having a downturn in the economy when my next guest, Mark Ellington, can't buy these suits that he's going to be wearing like the one he has on today. You just watched and see, all you have to do is watch fine men clothing. When you see that go down, that's one of the barometers that we're getting ready to have a problem. Because we're not, well, you know what? That market has shifted now because the SUV buyer is now predominantly female.
You fall of intimidation.
Hey folks, we're going to take a quick station break and I'm going to bring up my next guest. But before I do, and you're going to hear some more from him at a later time, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Chuck